Hi friends. Today we're going to be talking about how we make friends with change. Change is not always easy and it's not always fun. And yet in second half of life and as we walk on this further journey, there's going to be a lot of change. So how do we make friends with change? Let's get into it. Welcome to this Further Journey channel, where we talk about all kinds of things that we encounter as we step into second half of life. Today we're going to talk about change. I know that I talk about change a lot, but the reality is life is change, and we have to make friends with it. We have to find ways to negotiate change on into second half of life. As I've said before, in first half of life, we often choose our changes. We choose whether we want to go to college. We choose whether we want to live at home or find our own place. We choose whether we want to get married. We choose what job we want. We choose whether we want to have children. Those are our choices, and they're largely positive choices. In second half of life, the changes come at us and they're not always welcome. They aren't always the changes we would choose. So I think it's doubly important that we learn about change and how our relationship with change maybe needs to change. I'm recording this on my front porch. It's a beautiful morning, and so we'll probably hear some of the sounds from my neighborhood. So how do we make friends with change? Well, I was thinking about that this morning and thinking about the friends that I have. A lot of my friends are younger than me, and I love having conversations with them because it's almost like having a conversation with my younger self and remembering my journey along the way. I can look back at when I was their age and what I was thinking and the paths I was deciding on 10, even 15, 20 years ago. But I also have a lot of friends who are older than me, and speaking with them is a little different because I'm looking at what my path will be or could be, and the choices I have now that will determine that path. One of the things I notice that is different than speaking with my younger friends who are 5 and 10 and 15 years younger than me, and when I'm speaking to my friends who are 5, 10, 15 years older. The difference I often run into is that my friends who are older are less open to change than my younger friends. So that got me thinking, what shifts us into not being friends with change and makes us more stuck in our ways, so to speak? I believe one of the things we can do is stay living in the present, living in the now. When we spend too much time thinking about the past, we start ruminating about regrets that we have. We start thinking about the mistakes. We start thinking about maybe the way life has been unfair to us in the past. We start thinking about how the way life turned out wasn't the way we thought it was going to turn out, and we can become a little bit angry and bitter if we dwell on those things too much. But if we look at our life in the past as a journey we've been on to the present, and that now is what matters, because now is when we can make changes. Now is when we have choices. We have no choice about changing the past. And what do we do with our past? When we do have those negative thoughts and feelings that come up about our past journey, look at what you went through. What did you learn through that? If we can grab a hold of our learning, what we learned, and then use that as stepping stones into our future, I think we are able to stay much more positive. I also think it's helpful for us to remember that life is not static. Life is change. If we look back, we see that there have been many changes in our past, and we've come through them. And largely, I think the changes ended up being positive. Not because it was easy, not because it was fun, but because those changes and the choices we made us who we are today. So rather than seeing the next change that's coming down the pike as our enemy, maybe we can see it as a chance to grow, a chance to make a choice for the better, and make friends with it. Talk to it, talk to the change, and tell the change what you don't like, and tell the change what you hope for on the other side of that change. Recognize that change is life. And so as you encounter these changes, you are encountering life. Also, be grateful that you're still alive to make these changes. Some people aren't. So again, make friends with that change that's coming down the pike, whether you asked for it or not, whether it's a change that you preferred or did not prefer. Another thing we can do is recognize that each season of life has its gifts and its challenges. As you look at where you are now, living in the now, what are the gifts that you have now that you can be grateful for, even if change is coming down the pike? And yes, this next change will probably be a challenge, but challenges help us grow. Again, they're not always fun. Sometimes they're painful. This year, I have started at the gym lifting weights because I keep hearing that as we age, we need to keep our muscles up. And honestly, I do not like weights. I do not like lifting weights. And mostly, I don't like how my muscles are really achy the next day or two. There's a lot of pain going on. But this is a change, yes, that I'm choosing, but it's a change that I'm choosing because I want a better future. So I'm going to go through the pain and the agony of my muscles changing for the better. Some of the changes that we encounter as we age are changes that we have to accept, and we have to go through the change in order to get to the other side, the new normal on the other side. And that can be painful, but there's still so much to learn on this journey. And these painful changes can help us become more of who we've been created to be. Some of the changes that come down the pike, we still have a choice about, of how we want to encounter them and whether we want to accept that change. One of the huge changes that I've begun to experience in my second half of life journey is changes in my health. And I have tried everything I know to do to be healthy, and yet I'm still experiencing some changes. Some of those changes I've had to accept and say, you know what, this is all part of aging. But some of those changes that I feel coming on, I have to decide if I want to accept that change or if I want to decide I'm going to do something different. Different is change. I was speaking to one person who said, you know what? My body has done me pretty well for all these years. I think I'll just let it continue to do whatever it's going to do. That's one way of facing change and accepting the change. I tend to say, wait a minute, where is this change coming from? Is there something I can do and change in my life, whether it's exercise, whether it's diet, whether it's how I am encountering life, my stress, my sleep, all of those things affect my health. And I can make changes in a positive way in order to mitigate the change that I don't have a choice about. And that's aging. I am aging. I'm getting older. I can't change that. But I can change how I encounter that. I can change how I think about it. I can change my attitude. And I can also decide I'm just too old for that. I'm not going to make that change. I'm not going to continue to do what I did. I'm going to make that change because this is the journey I'm on and I'm okay with it. We have a lot of choice in how we encounter the changes in our life. We don't always have a choice about what changes come into our life. But if we recognize that change is life and life is change, maybe we can accept it more gracefully and more gratefully. I think being grateful for the life we have and the choices that we do have in life will take us a long way toward making friends with change. So if you're struggling with change and how to encounter that, write a note in the comments. I would love to hear from you. We're on this journey together, and we need to support each other and encourage each other, because change can be hard and it can be painful. But there is joy on the other side, and there's joy in the journey if we have others to walk with us. So join us, join this channel, and walk with us on this journey into second half of life.